cut to the inside of that line. My other hands are out of the way. Okay, so let's talk about the joint here real quick. So there's a couple different joints you can do. A fillet weld, or let's say joint prep. Fillet welds are basically 90% of what you're doing here. That's when it's just like you're stacking pieces on top of each other. Like that. Now, if you wanted to come to a point, you would miter it, and that would still kind of be a fillet weld. You could lap it like this, which is a lap joint. So what's common is you see a lot of people that, especially when they're brazing, they do what's called saddle joint. And what that does is that takes away the material so that it creates a saddle. Let's see if I can draw this real quick. So, this isn't a smooth surface, so bear with me. So, if I have the end profile of the pipe, so that's looking at the tubing like this, right? Now, if I want to join another piece, I can join it right to the top like that, but then the problem is what happens, and I don't see this as a problem, to be honest, but then what happens is you have this kind of negative space right here. Right? So you'll have this negative space that I use that to fill with my filler rod. And so with that, when I grind my material, I grind it with a little bit of a bevel to it. See, I don't think you can see it, but basically what it does is that this is the tube. Actually, let's draw a big surface. So if this is the end of the tube, my tube has these two little fillets, these chamfers on the side of the top surface. And what that does is that makes my filler rod go in a little smoother, and it lays flat with the profile of the metal. Now, what some people do is that they want to do a saddle joint, and this is more common for brazing. So if you have your tube that looks like this, and then your metal comes up, and it sits like a saddle on the tube, that also makes your joint really well, but then you have buildup on the front, on the back side. So essentially what solder does is that it's like a glue, and it penetrates inside the joint, and it just kind of like gets on the surface part of the steel, or copper, or whatever metal you're doing. The weld actually melts the two metals together, and then you fuse it with having filler rod that goes in, and it also bridges the gap of the molecules of the metal. So what this looks like at the profile of the tube is you make a U shape, and what that does, that sits on the tube itself, and it just sits like a saddle, like if you're like on a horse's saddle is shaped to match its back. Same kind of thing. Because I do all mine in welding, I don't really focus on that too much. It's a good practice, but I don't think it's super necessary for what I'm doing. And to be honest, like I said, most of this to me is just kind of artistic stuff. So I don't ever really get too crazy with that kind of detail. You can. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just a little much for me, I would say.